All right. So, hello everyone. Welcome to SEO Happy Hour episode and podcast. So, today guest is Natalia Witczyk. So, very good international SEO consultant that I have a pleasure to meet. And today topic is something that is a very hot topic that we all want, but we don't know how to get that. And that is actually how to negotiate your own condition, your own terms in your company. Doesn't matter what do you want from your position. Let's see how we can get that. So very welcome, Nat.
Thank you so much for having me. I have to give you 10 points for pronunciation of my surname.
Oh yeah.
Slavic roots help you, right?
Yes. I was making an effort, so thanks for noticing that.
Yeah, and actually,
Okay.
thank you for bringing up this topic today, because that's not something I typically talk on podcasts, but it's something we should talk more. We don't
Yeah.
talk enough about asking for more and getting more in our careers.
Yeah, I was blown away when I hear how you actually did this negotiation for 4 days week, even that hasn't been in the place. So we can start from that, and then we will cover all other things that usually SEOs would like to negotiate for: salary increase, for raising the prices, for getting another position, or any other kind of like requirement that would help you to get and optimize your dream job and to enjoy in your life.
Yeah, so let me set up some context for the viewers and listeners here, because we've talked about it the time we met. So fast track backwards, when I was working in agency life, from one day to another, I wasn't happy in my role. I decided to go freelance. That was 7 years ago already, almost 7 years ago.
Wow.
That was my first attempt at going freelance, because I've been off and on some ideas like that. And back in the day, I did it just because I needed the flexibility. And it was going okay. I wasn't overworking myself, so I wasn't making huge money, but that was what I needed at the time. And suddenly this opportunity came across of an agency that reached out, and they literally wanted me to create the SEO department. So there was no SEO department, it was a web dev agency. And they made me an offer. They were like, we like how you work, how you think. We met on a networking event. So they met me before they even thought they could have a role for me. I wasn't selling myself. We just vibed. And they offered me a job that I have initially declined, because I just wasn't sure I want to move away from the freelance life, from the flexibility I have, going back full time to an office. And it was a big, interesting, difficult project, setting off a new team and all of that. So I don't know how much detail I should go into. I don't know if you want this all.
However you want.
So essentially, first off, I declined the offer. I didn't even think I could be negotiating something that suits me. I just thought, I'm not fully convinced I want a full-time job. No. And it had to come to a point when they were so disappointed, because I was really considering it. I wasn't like leading them on, and they knew I had good vibes from them. So instead of just negotiating with them, I just kind of backed off. And opportunity arose when I could speak to the CEO of the group. It wasn't even the CEO of Spanish offices where I'm based. It was a Danish agency, and we were both in Web Summit, and he was like, let's have a coffee. And that's when we had a quick informal chat, and he asked me, what is it that you want? What are they not offering? Is there any worry or anything missing from the offer? And I had this aha moment when I realized I've not even asked for anything. I've not even made myself clear about what it is that I want. I just backed off. And him asking just made me realize they really were interested in me, and they really saw something in me that they were looking for. I mean, of course, their role was not even advertised anywhere. They would create it for me, but I still didn't catch it on the first time that the conversation happened. And that's when I think this huge step in my head happened, when I was like, maybe I don't have to work full time. Maybe I can ask for a 4-day week. It didn't happen on the same talk. I came back home from that informal chat, and I processed it, and I thought, hey, I have nothing to lose. And they couldn't make it more clear that they're interested. So why not put it on the table and see what they say? And I think that one changing my thinking is everything, because I think it changed my approach to negotiating and asking for things forever. And they accepted the offer. They accepted the salary I asked for. I basically calculated a full-time salary and then took 4/5 of that to make it fair. Still a good salary. I mean, I didn't understand myself there. And they were happy with me doing my freelance work on Fridays, so I could stay with the clients I really liked and wanted and not compromise on that and have that flexibility. If I didn't want to work on a Friday, I didn't have to.
Yeah. And I really love 2 times when you mentioned like I didn't even think what I can negotiate or like what I really want. Because that is something that we are facing like even every day on the same position, even we are for one company for a while, or when we are getting new offers, we kind of it's expected just like to accept what we get and then like decide if it's yes or if it's not. But like what if we can meet the middle ground and say like, hey, this is something that I like at this offer, but this is something that I don't like, how we can work towards that. But the crucial moment here is fear of rejection.
Absolutely. And I think the fear of rejection makes the worst decisions we can make. Because, well, now I can say that years after that happened, and I have gone through that process and it was successful for me, I keep really advocating among my group of friends and female peers. Like I'm part of this group, Mujeres en SEO, here in Spain, which is basically similar to Women in Tech SEO that we have globally. And I always try to push them to ask for more. And kind of my philosophy now is, if they say yes to everything, you're not asking for enough. There has to be a point when you get to the border of what is being asked to get where the border is. If you're always yourself blocking that stop, you're not asking for enough.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah, and especially I push
Yeah.
my friends to try to go to Brighton, to try to go to other events. And they're like, no, because I've already asked for that one thing. It's like, yeah, ask them to say no so you can get the yes next time, because Brighton is twice a year. You don't have to go to this one. Make yourself available to go, show that you are interested, put yourself forward, and let's see what they say. And if they say no, it's perfect, because next thing you ask, they're gonna say yes to.
Yeah. But you know, like I think the moment when that is something that we don't realizing is actually we are afraid to get no and what we will think about ourselves, how we are going to feel. And if we answer that to us in the moment when we are not asking like, okay, if I'm asking for something and I'm not getting, what that means for me, how that defines me.
Yes. I mean, and it's also so applicable to every area of life, because it's the same for dating. If
Yes.
you don't put yourself forward, obviously you're not burned, but do you get anything? Are you out there? Job market, but also any human interaction. Like how many times we would need help, but we just don't ask, so we don't get it, because we are learning that we shouldn't be putting ourselves vulnerable.
Yeah.
Right? So I don't want to make it like a coaching, heartfelt, all areas of life helpline, because I'm no specialist in this area. But anything I learned in my job negotiation always served me to make any other communication easier. So you can start from somewhere else. You don't even have to do it work straight. You
Yes.
can
Yeah.
start negotiating small things in your life. Maybe put your boundaries a bit more clear. Maybe put yourself out there with dating and know you're gonna be burned, but kind of get that attitude of accepting that failure is part of the process.
Yeah. Because usually we are most afraid and hurt at a job or in the relationship. So those are the big topics. But if you just go with the small steps, even by yourself, nobody will know like, hey, what I really want from my day and where I'm not kind of like using my whole day, where I'm not negotiating to get better day for myself. Let's see. And like the practice will actually, when you're seeing like, hey, even I didn't get that, like even for myself, like let's do the other things and like small steps, just like to, because that is our blockade that we have, like psychological blockade from the past when we have been rejected as a kids and like all these things. So this all trauma is coming from our past, why we are so afraid to ask for a like almost non-familiar person who is giving us a new job, something that we want, even like he doesn't know us, or it will
Yeah.
just like end. But like those are things that we are doing on these podcasts, coaching things, to actually don't miss the opportunity of getting the life you want just because of some past rejections you were facing.
Yeah, exactly. And as you said, it's often trauma related. I can only speak to female experience in this world where we're really taught early on not to stand out and ask for too much and stay in your line, basically. So it's a lot to untangle there why you are the way you are, but it doesn't
Yes.
define how you can be. I mean, it doesn't mean you have to make 180% degree change one day to another.
Yeah.
But it's the small steps. I mean, I was just saying to Adriana before I got on the call, the recording. I just got a flight yesterday with Hansa, which I never fly. I usually go the cheapest, and I was like, I'm gonna treat myself. And I didn't do it. I think I have practiced asking enough. But if you want to have a practice run, they give you small chocolates. Ask for a second chocolate. They will
Yes.
give it to you. No one asks.
Yes. Yeah.
Make that tiny interaction with someone you'll never meet again, and get, because it's the small practice that gets you ready for the big questions, actually.
Yeah, I really love this example. So thank you so much for it. Okay. Okay, so for example, and definitely some, or when we are listening your story, our brain can tell us, oh, you had lucky, oh, they already accept you, or like something like that. But all these things are actually just like brain is trying to make excuse, brain is trying to make some kind of like, oh yeah, it's not happening to me, she had a luck, so I need to work hard to get something, and like even I'm getting that offer, it is not something that I can get to. But also if you are getting the offer, that means that they will not fire you. Or like if you have the job, like if you're asking for something and you are getting no, they will not fire you. They can say like, hey, and like in the most of cases, they will be like very polite. Hey, this is something that we can give you today, or like in these months. But then like you can ask like, hey, okay, what I need to do to get that, and then
Exactly.
you have like clear steps what you need to accomplish to get what you want.
Yeah, and it's that. It's sometimes like probably the salary negotiation is the hardest one, and maybe just prefer not to face it. And I think to be ready with the mindset of asking, when is a good time to talk about salary? You don't have to demand it on the spot.
Yes.
It's opening a conversation, and you actually will realize the person who's in the other position, first, they've been there as well. Like your boss
Yes.
has to negotiate their own salary, so they know.
Yeah.
They know how much you make. And if you're really making that much that there's no way they can pay you more, they probably tell you. But I don't think that's the case. I mean, if you
Yeah.
never ask for a raise, the chances are you've missed out on so many opportunities to keep advancing on that you're definitely behind.
Yeah.
And if they cannot pay you today, let's set up a meeting in 6 months. Let's set up KPIs. Let's make it let's more related to business mindset. And that's
Yes.
fine as well. Because at least you know what you're working towards. There's nothing worse than no opportunity to feel like you can actually get something out of it that's more than now. You need this carrot on the stick in some way, and help them give it to you as well. So you're happy with
Yeah.
what you're getting.
Yeah, and that is the thing, like how we can help our managers to actually provide us something that we want, and like not bringing the conversation and expecting that they will do something for us. It's kind of like impossible, because like we can't know like what other people like, and that is the thing when we start noticing when we are getting our team members, we don't know like what they want if we don't ask them.
Exactly. And the worst part is when they decide to leave because they want more money, but they never asked.
Yes.
By the
Yes.
time they resign, it's too late to
It's too
patch things
late.
up. I hate this idea that people want to kind of make the last step of leaving but want to be kept, because it's like almost like it's almost like a way of emotionally showing you want something but never asking, and that's
Yeah.
not a way to get it. And most
Yeah.
companies will not give counter offer just as a policy, because typically that employee has already checked out. So
Yes.
yeah, so if you are considering leaving just because of money, or mostly because of money, that can be fixed. And keeping people on is cheaper than hiring a new person, always, always. So yeah, there's so many things that we end up doing that are way more harming because we didn't ask in the first place.
Yeah.
So yeah,
And yeah, go ahead, please.
No, I was going to say, and it's so easy to say, if you are not in that mindset, it's so hard to just do. So that's why the small steps are so important, because everyone who's done it, they're already there. I don't even remember how I never asked for things before I actually started to ask for things. That's last 7 years. I keep pushing my let's say, boundaries of what I expect of clients, what pricing I ask for, how do I manage deadlines, you know, all those things. I
Mhm.
can't even remember how hard my life was before I got to that point. So
Yeah.
it resonates with the fact that if you're not there, it's so hard and it's just blubber that someone talks about. But yeah, it's the smallest things that make it your habit, and then it's easier.
And let's talk about like small things, just like suggestions how they can ask for salary increase, or if you are freelancer, how to increase the prices, like small things, like small conversation that doesn't need to be defined. Oh, I really want this number of salary, or like this is like the pricing. We can always find a middle ground behind like increasing, but like not having the right number, and like checking like, hey, with firstly, for example, we can go with our manager about salary increase.
Yeah, I think it's a very good step to ask upfront what the conversation will be about. You don't have to throw it at them in person, getting them on the spot. But maybe a quick email saying, "Hi, I've been in a company for that long, and I've been in this role for X months. And I wondered when is a good time to actually chat about salary, because I would really want to understand what's the process." So you can keep it as simple and as short. You don't have to dwell on why, and that conversation will come. But it's the first information that's what you want to talk about. So you don't catch them off guard with like a meeting that says important conversation, or you know, you have to
Salary
give them,
increase.
yeah, or I want more money now in the meeting
Yeah.
agenda. No. So you give them the opportunity to maybe also understand from their point, from HR point, if there is like a review process that is scheduled, so they can come back to you and say, look, actually, January we will have this conversation anyway, so it's okay if we wait. Or they might be like, no one ever asked me this. Maybe they're new manager, you know. So you give them a chance to educate themselves first. They come back to you. And
Yes.
then it's in the ball is in their field, right? They have to act on it. So you communicate the first step while you keep preparing for the actual conversation to happen, which probably will not happen overnight as well.
Yeah, and that's the
Yeah,
thing. You don't need to have all the answers or all the questions for them. Basically, just like small things, just like asking when we are going to do this, is actually a starting point, and then you will see. But I think people are so overwhelming by all these like thoughts, situations, preparing yourself for some a situation that can come up or something like that. But in the end of the day, like they're not coming up. Like it will be just like short conversation, and like that's it. And the
yeah,
another person will actually lead that, because that's your manager. You just need to ask when we are
yeah.
going to talk about, and then everything else is actually on them.
Exactly, and them as your superior manager, that's the responsibility as well to actually lead those conversations. They will not leave you to give a 1 hour speech, because they actually are responsible for like
Yeah.
budgets and stuff, right? In their team. So they are probably need more preparation than you do.
Yeah.
In this position as much as you are,
Yeah,
that's the responsibility. So yeah.
that's so true. Okay, if we go on the another side, if you are freelancer, if you want to increase your prices with current clients, what it would be a good approach there?
So I personally opted in for this approach where I offer limited time contracts. I don't sign contracts, but like agreements. So I do typically 6-month projects, and I work in 6-month cycles, and we renew and renegotiate. And I always tell them, especially in the beginning, it's the first 6 months. Let's put things in place. Let's finish this audit on this big analysis. Let's do the tech work, and let's see where we are results wise, and see if we are happy with my work and my approach, and how we can move forward. So I leave this door open from the very beginning, just because it is hard to increase on prices with your recurring clients, but also I give them a lot of security by letting them know I really want them to evaluate me after 6 months. So they feel so empowered by knowing I don't expect them to just keep paying every month forever. I give a timeline to what I'm doing. I don't promise them crazy results in 6 months, but I promise there will be already impact on what we do. And I always tell them, obviously, depending how fast we move, because 6 months can mean first free dev tickets being implemented very first time in the 6th month, right?
Yeah.
They usually are aware of it and they're like, oh, no, we need next 6 months to actually put it all in place. And we like working with you typically, so we will stay, right? But that opens me the window of preparing next proposal for different amount of hours or different amount of, day rates, because sometimes I work day rate, sometimes it's hours, sometimes it's closed price. It depends on the client and the demand. And I essentially every 6 months or 1 year renew the approach. And there were times when I would even tell the client, I don't know if you need me at this stage. Maybe you need to invest in a copywriter, actually. Or maybe the in-house team has become empowered enough to take over. So I don't always stick it into their face that I want a raise and I'm staying.
Yeah.
I also get a very good understanding of the project in those 6 months. So next time because proposals are a bit like, what do I offer them today? Like you don't know what you're gonna deal with. It's
Yeah.
the contact, right? If you've never worked with them, you have no idea. So you put something up together and you give yourself that room to amend it and fix it when you need to. That's
Yeah.
my
Yeah. And like whenever we have some pricing, also it's very connected with some guarantee. Like, do you do any kind of like, and of course, like we can guarantee results, but how we can also assure that actually there is a value behind the price that they are paying?
Oh yeah, that's a very big topic and it's a very tricky one. I never promised them any traffic increase at all, because with what's been happening with so many of the websites I've seen, they just decline on their own. And if you don't do anything, they're going worse. And you might, with little work, just keep them afloat. And that's not an increase, but they've not lost the traffic they would have because of you, right? And in other cases, it's just a case of a client when you are not responsible for how they approach implementation. And as an external consultant that doesn't have any access to anything, you just ask them nicely to do things. Sometimes the results are not there because they cherry pick what they want to implement. So there's a lot there that impacts your impact on the project and actual traffic. But what I try to do, I don't sell to clients that need SEO selling. I don't sell SEO. I sell my approach to SEO. So they have to be sold on SEO itself already. And typically that kind of maturity of a client means that they know what they can actually expect. If they come to me to a sales meeting and they're like, show me case studies, how much traffic you got from a client in the last 6 months? I'm like, well, not as relevant as you think it is, because I'm guiding your team, but it's in your corner actually to
Yeah.
make that happen. So I can't take full credit or responsibility for even with traffic increases, I can't take full credit for that. It's usually the team that does a lot, and I'm just pointing them in the right direction as well. So it is a tricky one, and you will find a lot of, but that's the rejection part. If you're not afraid of getting your proposal rejected, you can really put your approach to it and understand that most of the prospects will not be sold, and that's fine. They're not looking for you. So they
Yeah.
should be sold on the way you work if it's not the way they are looking for.
Yeah, and I'm getting these questions a lot, like where I can see the results from other clients. But then what I'm asking, like, why do you want these results? Because like even the results are bad, what does it mean for you? Or if the results are great, what does it mean for you? Because
Yeah.
you are not going to behave, you're not in the same industry, you are not in the same position, you are not that client. But that is another brain pattern, like why people want to be like secured by the success of the another like company or
Yeah.
like and when you point that kind of like question and like why you want to see these, then like the client starting to realizing the value and like where his mindset like even is wrong because he's not asking for the right things.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the part of client education and handling of the communication, it's so important when you set expectations and you try to change that approach. But if they're so set on comparing themselves, not much you can actually do. I mean, you're not gonna just go ahead and make them look at everything they do in their marketing field completely else, right? So the best you can do is keep refusing the clients you don't want. So when the clients you want come on board, you have time for them. You didn't say yes to all the projects that came first way, and you didn't stick with them forever because they are there. You actually also make availability for yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because there are clients that will absolutely like the way you see SEO because they see the same way. They will. Easy to find? No.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you say yes to everything that came first way, and if you just agreed on the prices they wanted, you probably have no capacity to keep looking for that stellar client that you actually want in your life.
Yes, and this is so hard. This is so hard to actually cancel the client that is taking so much energy from us. But just thinking like how many good opportunities we can come up with if we refocus that negative energy that we are spending daily on that client towards getting a new clients and getting the results for all the other clients that we have. But this is so hard because like our brain is just like, even that is like toxic relationship, let's keep it, and that is like, yeah, what is draining our energy daily. But there is a mindset thing about refocusing our, like, even focus energy and like what we want towards creating the life. Because, or especially like freelancers, like skip the in-house and like agency work because they don't want to be there. So if you are accepting clients that are not aligned with your personality and that you want, you are again going back
Yeah.
to that environment where you
What's the
didn't want to
benefit,
see.
right?
Yeah, what's the benefit?
You're paying more taxes, you are more
Yeah.
worried, and then you get nothing out of it. No,
Yeah.
this can
And
be
you are business
it.
owner, administration, finance, and everything in once. And at least in the past experience, you didn't worry about getting new clients if you are in agency as a SEO consultant.
Yeah, and I think I want to add is typically it's not the case 100% in all cases, but it usually is not. But I've noticed this pattern. The more complaining and difficult and unbelievably crazy client is, usually the least they want to pay. The
The
moment you
same,
increase your prices,
the same.
you are in a different tier of business thinking. And then don't spend time looking at your hours. Oh, how many hours you spend this month? I'm typically more worried about how many hours I'm claiming I spend, because I don't always time myself like that, because I have those crazy rushes of incredible ideas, and then I'm not productive for a couple of days. And I don't usually, when I'm not productive, I don't want to add that time. When I'm super productive, I'm like, how do I even calculate it? In 15 minutes, I had the best idea in the world. You know, how do I check for that? So I try to be reasonable with that and adjust it a bit by common sense, if something like that even exists. But yeah, the clients that are really there with understanding what value you could provide and what SEO can do, they will not ask you for hourly reports. My clients never do.
Yeah.
If they do, there is a one or two. It's because they pay me upfront for the whole year, and then after the end of the year, like, hey, could you give us a breakdown? But they don't really spend time looking at every single hour. They're just like, oh, we want to understand what areas this all went to.
Yeah.
When I was freelancing first, that's 7 years ago, I charged 4 or 5 times less than now. And I felt so much more stress from those clients who were actually demanding too much.
Yeah. Price is great filter for actually which clients you want to work with.
And once again, you have to put yourself forward, say your price, and see what they say. Typically, if they are sold on you, they will not say no just because of the price.
Yes.
And if they're not sold on you, they will look for a way to kind of let you know that also the price is a problem, even if you gave them the cheapest. So it's not the price that's the problem. It's actually the whole other process, right? But so many people already block themselves on the price level, and they also, if your proposals are all accepted, your price is too low. You have to have a threshold of
Yeah.
pricing
Even,
that's
yeah.
out.
Even it seems it's price, it's not. It's about the value that they don't see to pay that you are looking
And I
for.
promise you, you give them ridiculous low price. If they are about price, they will still tell you it's too expensive.
Yes.
There's a type of person who always say, oh, no, it's more than I thought. They'll try to knock it down.
Yeah.
You don't want to work with this kind of people. No.
All right. So we are mentioning like these very common things that we want to negotiate, but like, can you think about like any other ideas that like people even like don't think what they can get on their jobs?
So I can mostly speak to agency life experience, because that's where I came from before I went freelance. I never worked in-house, where I was typically, in most agencies I worked in, registering hours. I was having a tool that would have my hourly breakdown, so we could actually charge clients per hour. And this opens so many doors, because the agency in this model has got such a great control over where you spend your resources. I think all the flexibility in the world that you can even imagine, it's there. Because what all the agency cares about is that the hours are done at the end of the week. If it's full-time, it's 40 or 37, or depending on the country you're from. If it's part-time, like I was, it was 32 hours. So 4 days of 8-hour work. You can probably, most of the time, wouldn't even have to ask, but you can ask. Break it down into longer, shorter days. Have a 3-hour break in the middle of the day. Maybe napping is something that you want to do, but you never did in your life because you never felt like you could. Maybe today you can. Maybe you can always work from home, even though the company doesn't really allow it. But if you ask, maybe they allow it. Like there's so many things you can just ask about casually. You don't even have to make a demand. You're just like, hey, are we sure this is the working from home policy? Could we look at it? Even for a period? You don't have to ask for forever. Like, hey, next 2 months will be hard for me personally because whatever. Or you don't even have to give a reason.
Yes.
And I work from home a few more days. And you can say to your boss, like, hey, my hours are always perfect. I fill it in, so there's no problem there. Nothing will change this way. So they have the tool that they need from you as an employee. Why not use that tool for your advantage? So I would say, yeah, some people are more nocturnal. I'm not a morning person. My first meetings are at 10 a.m. I don't really do earlier because I'm not myself. I'm not my full self. You can push that starting time as long as the job is done. I don't think anyone will care. The only thing you need to make sure is you communicate it. You don't do it in silence the way that doesn't work. So maybe block out the calendar time so people know they cannot invite you. Even put a closed meeting that people in the organization can see what it is, but you are blocked off every morning. You don't have to give explanations to everyone. As long as your boss knows, I guess it's fine. Or depending on the organization, how's the line of command and who should know. But it's typically things that if you just ask, they will be like, yeah, like why are we even asking?
Yeah, sure.
And I think it's the same with like location. If you are working remotely some days, I don't think anyone will care you work from a hotel like me today. Like I'm gonna have a client meeting later today. My clients don't care. I used to be worried about it. Like I used to be very worried they might think someone can overhear conversations if I'm not at home. So I don't take important client calls from cafes because I feel like I'm talking sensitive business data and they might be someone who overhears this and sees my screen. So I do it more from hotels than anything. But honestly, clients don't care. They actually like the fact you do shit. You're in your, sorry for swearing, I don't know if we can.
No, we can do.
Yeah. You can go and actually attend events and your SEO life is more than just sitting at the computer. They know that you are part of the community. They typically like it. Typically agencies like it too, because you give the name to the industry, right? So I guess if you combine that flexibility, you don't have to, but you could also look for ways that is enriching for the company, for the business. But it's not like it's the requirement. You don't owe them the fact you always do something thinking about how the brand can grow. No. You can always ask just for your own sake. If you want to ask for something extra, like maybe travel being covered, obviously make it about business. But yeah, again, that's the asking part. Never asked about working from home. Maybe you missed out on months of having less commute. If it's internally a problem and they say no, that's fine. Doesn't mean you shouldn't ask for the next thing. Actually, the moment your manager tells you no, they are in debt with you. They typically don't like to say no to their team. If they had to, from a different reason, they'll make sure they will compensate with a different decision that they can actually make a yes.
Yes.
So it's in your favor to hear that no. It's nothing negative. Obviously, I don't say fall out and make it a big argument. That's not the way. But if they just told you really no, that's not possible, in 2 months, ask for that next thing. And I'm sure there will be a bigger chance of a yes.
Yeah, I really love it. Yeah, and just like silly examples, like what I'm seeing with my clients, they really want to go to gym like in the middle of the day. And like you can ask and you can stay longer at your work, but actually going to gym in the morning or whenever you want, just like silly thing. And then like if you have a meeting at that time, you can stay, but at least you will get that like what you really want to achieve in the middle of the day than just like going to gym by the end of the day or like in the late evenings.
Yeah, and I also want to say something to my peers, especially women, because in this case it's the most relevant group, but I guess it can apply to anyone. I always like to think about expectation you put in yourself. As a single woman myself, no children, I used to be and still am pretty available for different time zones, things, right? When I was younger, I still felt like I had to compensate something, which I never quite, I don't think I had to, but that was my thinking, right? I have to give extra. I have to show as the foreigner in the office that I'm doing extra work, that there's no doubt I'm really good at what I'm doing.
And I didn't need to prove.
Prove something, exactly.
Yeah.
And now, more often, I'm thinking, this is such an unfair advantage to any mother in the office because they couldn't keep up with the level of commitment I would give. It's also a like relative view of how extra you give yourself to the company and if it's actually fair to ask that of you, because if your circumstances were different, and actually now these days not that many people have children anymore, but quite a few decades ago that would be the normal circumstances. As a woman you become a mother at some point. Is a mother in your office able to compete with you, and are you setting that expectation for her by you being so available, never asking for anything, getting no flexibility from work, because you set the norm for your colleagues. So maybe if you don't have the empathy for oneself and like, oh, I need this, I deserve this, also think what's the normal for everyone else, and you, by maybe setting that example or setting that level to normal and not always extra, maybe you're making that other woman a favor, because as a mother she doesn't have to do extra hours thinking she has to catch up with you. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Whenever you negotiate, you should give that room to people who actually need it for different reasons than selfish. Me, selfish, I like to sleep long. Yeah, I don't have a crying baby that needs attendance from me. But by you actually setting this precedent of people can do how they want and making it normality and informing other people, you're actually taking advantage of that. Maybe you allow them to ask for the same, right?
And why is selfish to sleeping long? Like
Well,
who defines that?
oh,
Like
yeah,
what is
yeah. I'm
selfish?
saying selfish, which I
Yeah.
don't think is wrong. You know, if I'm getting my job
Nothing
done,
is
I
wrong.
deserve to be selfish from time to
Yeah.
time.
And like
Yeah.
definitely expectations are a big topic for everyone. And always I'm checking with my clients, like, okay, who put the expectation? Like, did you do on yourself? Did you put the expectation on yourself, or your boss put the expectation on yourself? And then like see like what's the reality versus like what you think that is expected from you, because that is the pressure that is coming from. And maybe like in the most of cases, like the expectation is not there what you think it is. So
Absolutely. Expectation is another big topic. I guess it could be a whole episode on its own.
yes.
But definitely also think about the times where you really have to, stand up to the task and maybe give your extra. If you always give extra, there's no extra to give when needed. It's very healthy to work on your 80% capacity most of the time. So when there is an emergency, your actual emergency, not the every week emergencies that
Yeah,
sometimes
everyday
happen,
emergency.
you actually have that extra energy and resource to do extra. It's really that's the boundaries you set within yourself and the expectations you set with yourself first. Yeah.
Yeah, I think we should do another episode about expectations. So I'm
I
looking
love all these
forward to it.
subjects. Honestly, my friends hate me for this because I'm always like, not asking for enough, go for
Yeah.
more, negotiate it. How come you've not asked for a salary increase yet? And then like, okay, whoa, we're not like you. But I don't
Yeah.
want people to be like me, because maybe I also went over the top sometimes when I've understood I have this power. Maybe I was like asking too much, but also no, not too much. The person who says no decides if it's too much. If you ask for too much, they'll be like, no, that's too much, and that's fine.
Yeah,
I don't
because
think you
you
can
now
ask for
see the
too much.
boundary.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Okay, I really love this. And this is definitely my topic as well. I'm really passionate about, so I'm really glad that we made it. And thank you so much for being my guest and taking the time to discuss this with me. So I'm very happy to have you here.
Yeah, so the last words, go people, ask for something. The only risk is getting a no, and you actually want that.
Yes.
So homework for everyone, get that one extra step, and it can be the little extra chocolate. You don't have to jump at the top of the mountain first step. Literally, those small things that open you to asking for more. Please do it for yourself or for the others, because you're setting an example.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah. These are the situations where we are growing from.
Absolutely.
All right.